Surveillance video obtained by NBC6 shows the moment a rapper allegedly shoots and kills her manager in front of the Wynwood Walls back on October.
Archaga Carayas, also known as Porky, was one of the most wanted criminals in the world. He was the leader of MS-13, a ruthless gang operating out of Honduras in the US. He was involved in drug trafficking, money laundering, murder, and other crimes. He'd been convicted in 2018 and was serving a lengthy prison sentence in Honduras. But on February 13, 2020, he pulled off what can only be described as a cinematic escape from the law. He was supposed to appear in court for a hearing in El Progreso, Honduras. He arrived at the courthouse accompanied by military police officers, but as he was arriving, a group of armed men disguised as military police stormed the building. They used a fake prisoner in a black tunic to conceal their weapons and their plan. They killed and wounded several officers and freed Carayas. They fled the scene in a van, leaving behind a trail of blood and destruction. Security cameras would capture the whole incident, which shocked the world. How could such a high-profile inmate escape so easily? Who were those men that helped him? And where did he go? Now, Carayas has been a target of the U.S. authorities for years. He's been accused of supplying weapons, drugs, and money to MS-13 members in the U.S. He was also allegedly responsible for ordering and carrying out the killings of rival gang members and others. This was a dangerous and violent man who had loyal followers in MS-13, one of the most feared and powerful criminal syndicates in the world. In November 2021, he was added to the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list, along with some of the most infamous criminals in history. The U.S. government offered a reward of up to $100,000 for any information leading to his capture, but that wasn't enough to flush him out of hiding. In February 2023, the U.S. government increased the pressure on Carayas. The State Department raised the reward offer to $5 million, making him one of the most wanted drug traffickers in the world. The Treasury Department also imposed sanctions on him and his associates, freezing their assets and prohibiting any transactions with them. But it seems like these measures will still not be enough to catch Porky, who remains at large. If you ever see him, you might get tempted by that huge reward. But be careful, as he is armed and dangerous, with his gang lurking behind him. King Von. Chicago-born rapper King Von, who was making waves in the hip-hop scene, was shot and killed in a violent altercation outside an Atlanta nightclub on November 6, 2020. He was only 26 years old. Now, the shooting occurred around 3 a.m. at the Monaco Hookah Lounge in downtown Atlanta, where King Von and his entourage had gone after attending a private party. King Von, real name Devon Daquan Bennett, was a rising star in the drill rap genre, known for his vivid storytelling and gritty lyrics. He grew up in the notorious O Block neighborhood in Chicago, where he was friends with fellow rappers Lil Durk and Chief Keef. He did have several run-ins with the law, including a murder charge that he did beat in 2017 after witnesses failed to testify. King Von, his crew, his manager Jameson Francois, and his security detail were initially at the Opium Club to celebrate the success of King Von's debut studio album, Welcome to O Block. It debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200, selling 44,000 units in its first week. However, when it was time for the group to get back to their Airbnbs, King Von was nowhere to be found. He'd gone to the Monaco Hookah Lounge in downtown Atlanta with his crew and security team. No one knew why he left his manager and security detail behind. At the same time, this other rapper, Quando Rondo, was asleep in the parking lot at the hookah lounge, along with one of his associates, Lil Tim, in the car, but had fallen out with him over a series of disputes and misunderstandings. He was also involved in a feud with another Chicago rapper, FBG Duck, who ended up being killed in a shooting back in August 2020. King Von had dissed both Quando Rondo and FBG Duck in his songs and social media posts, accusing them of being both snitches and cowards. Now, King Von had no idea that these guys were in the same lounge. The two men had no prior plans or intentions to confront each other that night, but fate had other plans. Just as King Von was about to head into the lounge, one of his guys told him that he had spotted Quando Rondo in the parking lot. In a split second, King Von ran towards Quando Rondo and rained punches on him till he fell to the ground. According to witnesses and surveillance footage, a dispute broke out between the two groups of men in the parking lot, which quickly escalated into a gunfight. One of Quando Rondo's associates, Lil Tim, appeared from behind their vehicle, firing several shots at King Von and his crew. Police officers who were off duty at the club responded to the scene and also exchanged fire with the gunman. 6 people were wounded in this crossfire, including King Von, who was rushed to a hospital by a private vehicle. 3 of the victims, including King Von, succumbed to their injuries. King Von was rushed to the Grady Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 4:55 a.m. 2 of his friends, Mark Blakely and Thaddeus Lil Reese, also died from their gunshot wounds. 5 other people, including Lil Tim, were injured and hospitalized. The police detained Quando Rondo that night. However, he claimed that he acted in self-defense. He also said that he didn't know Lil Tim had a gun with him and was shocked when he heard the shots. Later, he would post a video on Instagram where he expressed his condolences to King Von's family and denied any involvement in the shooting. Although Lil Tim was arrested and charged with the murder, the charges were dropped as it was later determined that he did act in self-defense. Camilla Hicks, better known by her stage name Kivani, is an aspiring rapper and the CEO of Pretty Thug Music. She's also a suspect in a murder case that shocked the hip-hop community and the public. On October 9, 2023, Hicks allegedly shot and killed her manager in the middle of the street in Wynwood, a trendy neighborhood in Miami. Now, what happened that night? According to a police report, Hicks and her manager got out of a white Lexus sedan.
Get out of the white Lexus parked on Northwest 2nd Avenue. The driver gets out of the car and he and the woman are seen arguing. The dispute gets physical and they start hitting each other.
Around 1:35 a.m. on Monday, October 9th, 2023, near Wynwood Walls, a popular spot for street art, they soon got into an argument that turned physical and the manager started to attack Hicks, throwing her to the ground. A second man who was sitting in the back of the Lexus also got out and joined the assault on Hicks. The 2 men would pin her down to the ground and punch and kick her repeatedly. Hicks managed to somehow get up and walk away from the attackers, but then she pulled out a handgun from her bag and fired several shots at him. The manager tried to hide behind the car, but Hicks chased him and shot him many times until he collapsed to the ground. The second man quickly got into the Lexus and drove off, hitting Hicks with the car and running her over. Hicks then ran down the sidewalk and out of view. The police arrived shortly after and found the manager lying on the ground with a lot of gunshot wounds. He was taken to the hospital but later died from his injuries. Hicks was also found nearby with blunt force injuries and was also taken to the same hospital. She told the police that the shooting was an act of self-defense and that she feared for her life. She claimed that the manager had assaulted her multiple times before and that he did threaten to kill her with one hit. So, who was the manager? Well, the police haven't officially revealed the manager's identity, but some sources have identified him as Kevin Smith, a 32-year-old music producer and promoter. Smith had been working with Hicks for about a year and helped her launch that rap career. He also signed her to his label, Kev Productions, and had produced some of her songs, including her latest single, Thug Life. Now, Smith was described by his friends and family as a hardworking and talented person who loved music and had a bright future ahead of him. They said that he had no history of violence or criminal activity and that he was a good mentor and friend to Hicks. Now, who was the other man in the fight? Now, the identity of the other man who was involved in the attacks and drove off hasn't been confirmed by the police, but some sources have speculated that he was Smith's friend or associate. He's been described as a black male, about 6 feet tall, with a medium build and short hair. He was wearing a black hoodie, blue jeans, and white sneakers at the time of the incident. He is still at large and is considered armed and dangerous. Hicks has been charged with second-degree murder for the shooting of her manager, and she is expected to be released on a $50,000 bond and house arrest this month. Her lawyer has argued that that shooting was a clear case of self-defense and that Hicks was a victim of abuse and intimidation by her manager. A GoFundMe page has been set up for Hicks by an apparent family member who alleged that the manager and the other man had assaulted her multiple times and that she acted in fear and desperation. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you're still feeling more crime stories, why don't you check out this one? And please, don't forget to subscribe.